Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio. Welcome to Hunting for Answers, a true crime podcast. I'm your host, Hunter. An 18-year-old girl is in Massachusetts one day before her birthday. She has a medical appointment behind her. Another one is scheduled for the next day. Her family expects to hear from her. They expect her to come home. But that afternoon, she gets into a rental car with a man investigators would later connect to her disappearance. And after that, she stops answering calls. What begins as a missing person case will soon expand far beyond Massachusetts. This is the story of Jalajhia Finklea. Jalajhia Finklea was 18 years old. She was a member of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. She was loved by her family and community. In October of 2020, Jalajhia was pregnant. She had medical appointments scheduled, plans for the days ahead. On October 20th, 2020, she traveled to Boston for a medical appointment. Another visit was scheduled for the next day. But the next day came, and Jalajhia never showed up. That same day, Jalajhia was last seen in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Investigators say she got into a rental car driven by 37-year-old Luis Zaragoza, who was also identified in some reports as Luis Barboza. And after Jalajhia got inside, that would become the last confirmed sighting of her. The next day, October 21st, was her birthday. But as the hours passed, the people close to her stopped hearing from her. She missed her follow-up medical appointment, and by then, her family knew something was wrong. As investigators worked to trace Jalajhlia's last known movements, they discovered another piece of the timeline. Her cell phone had been found along Route 140 in Massachusetts, discarded on the side of the road, miles away from where she had last been seen. And as authorities started following the rental car's route, the case began expanding far beyond Massachusetts. Investigators said the vehicle traveled through multiple states, including Florida and Texas. Surveillance footage also helped investigators track Luis Zaragoza across state lines. But according to investigators, Jalajhia was never seen with him. Eventually, authorities obtained arrest warrants for Zaragoza. He was wanted on charges including kidnapping and motor vehicle larceny. But before investigators could question him about Jalajhlia's disappearance, the investigation took another turn. On November 5th, 2020, U.S. Marshals and local authorities located Zaragoza in Crestview, Florida. Authorities said an encounter followed and Zaragoza was shot and killed. The man investigators had been tracking was now dead, and with him, any chance to question him directly was gone. But the case wasn't over. After Zaragoza's death, investigators gained access to his phone, and inside it, they found a note. According to authorities, the note referenced depression. It also included a statement that Jalajhlia was, quote, gone. And investigators said the note contained directions that would lead authorities to Florida. On November 25th, 2020, investigators discovered human remains off Interstate 95 in Fellsmere, Florida, hundreds of miles from Massachusetts. And as investigators worked to identify them, authorities said they believed the remains might be Jalajhia's. Days later, on December 4th, 2020, those remains were positively identified as Jalajhia Finklea. The search for the missing teenager was now a homicide investigation. An autopsy later revealed that Jalajhia had been shot twice. Authorities said one of the shots was fired at close range. Her death was ruled a homicide. The autopsy also confirmed that Jalajhia was pregnant at the time of her death. She was reportedly about 20 weeks pregnant. But even with the autopsy and the evidence investigators were able to recover, many questions about Jalajhlia's final hours have never been answered publicly. For Jalajhlia's family, there would be no trial, no courtroom testimony, no moment where the full story would be heard in court. The man investigators identified as a suspect died before he could be prosecuted. And while the investigation provided some answers, it did not answer every question. Jalajhia Finklea was expected to come home. The search for her led investigators from Massachusetts to Florida. And for the people who loved her, the loss of Jalajhia did not end when the investigation did. Our thoughts are with Jalajhia Finklea's family, loved ones, and community. As we close this episode, we also recognize that Jalajhlia's case is one of many involving Indigenous women and girls whose disappearances and deaths do not always receive the same attention. Jalajhlia was loved. She was 18 years old, and her story deserves to be told. For more cases and updates, follow Hunting for Answers. You can also connect with us through our Facebook group and find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. If there's a story you believe deserves attention, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Until next time. Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network. For more podcasts from the Black Effect Podcast Network, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.